Hello, everyone, and welcome to Orphan Black Podcast, Episode 3. I am your host, Eric Flascotch, and with me, as always, I got Thomas Christie, and you're watching the podcast that can never have Glocks that are too big. What do you think, Tom? Is your Glock too big?
I love my big Glock. What can I say?
Yeah? Your Glock, no Glocks are too big for me.
No way. Bring it on.
Yeah. How's it going? It's been a while. We haven't talked Orphan Black Podcast in a while. It's been a busy schedule for you and me, but I'm hoping we can get back on track.
Oh, it's good to be back. I'd just like to say, Red Blacks, what up? Suck it, Argos, and all you Toronto haters in the audience. Ottawa, we got our first win. Huge night for the city. Pumped up. I was there, and hopefully a lot more to come in the future.
Okay, in future podcasts, maybe it's not best to speak to such a niche audience as the Ottawa Red Black fans. This team, I doubt anyone, if you're south of Ottawa Valley, would ever know what a Red Black was or what the score is in the CFL. So apologies to anyone who doesn't know what a Red Black is. But Tom's a bit excited. He's a big CFL football fan.
Okay. My apologies. Also, a podcast about a show based in Toronto, filmed in Toronto. Probably shouldn't be hating on Toronto. I don't know. I love you, Toronto. Good luck in the rest of the season, but Ottawa for the win, always.
Okay. Yeah, so we have a few things to cover before we actually get into the episode. Some big news. I think I mentioned episode 1 that I was going to reach out to post-show recaps, which is actually my favorite podcast network, and see if they were interested in the podcast. And actually, Rod Sesternino, who is actually one of my favorite podcasters of all time, wrote an email back saying that he's interested in some capacity. I'm not quite sure what that means yet, but it's big news for me. I'm really excited, and yeah, hopefully we're gonna assume that we're still doing this on our own, and push forward regardless. But it's pretty exciting. We'll see if we can get anything going, and yeah, it's a really big opportunity, and I think I've expressed this to you a few times, right, Tom?
Yeah, very exciting. Thrilled to be a part of it, and excited for what the future holds.
Yeah, pumped. So let's hop into the episode. Just initial feedback. What did you think? Were you pretty pumped about this episode this week?
Yeah, big episode. A couple of big reveals. Really creepy ending. So I can't wait to jump into episode 4. It's one of those episodes, as the first two were, that just desperately leaves you wanting to click next episode, but I can't because I'm committed to the podcast and I'm not going ahead. But sometimes when I'm watching, it's real tough not to just fire into the next one.
I feel guilty that I'm putting you through this because when I first watched the season, I think I watched about 8 episodes in a row and then got pretty caught up. So I do appreciate it. I'm sure all the listeners appreciate it because it is a different perspective when you go through it fresh and you start brainstorming and scheming about what you think or predicting what you think is going to come. That's always an interesting angle on the podcast, so I greatly appreciate it, and I know how painful it is for you.
No, honestly, all that being said, it is a lot of fun to bounce my ideas off people and have a little chat about it after, so it's actually better this way. I'm complaining, but I'm actually enjoying this a lot more than I think I would be if I were just firing through it Netflix marathon style. So,
yeah. Definitely. Okay, so let's I'll do a quick recap of what happened kind of to date. So I guess there's a few main storylines. Basically, Sarah Manning is this kind of con artist that saw a woman kill herself and took her identity. Basically, the woman was a cop, and there was a few storylines that split into basically Sarah trying to con the bank to get $75K. There's also this other clone situation that's going out, and she keeps meeting other duplicates of herself. One thing that happened last episode, one of the clones died, and Sarah had to bury the body. There's also this thing going on with the briefcase that one of the other clones wants. And then the last episode, we finally meet Casima and Allison, who are the two people that she kept talking to on the burner phone. And yeah, besides that, Art is still holding the 75K, so that's kind of where everything stands at that point. So we start out at Allison's house where we left off with Kasima and Allison. Basically, Sarah is just sitting in their living room getting some answers, and you find out right away that they're clones, and people are killing themselves off. So, Tom, I know you had the clone theory down from the start. We're all
Okay.
impressed.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
You feel very validated that you were correct.
Incredibly validated. Even though they ruined it for me in the next week on after episode 2, it's so sweet. It's like winning the Stanley Cup twice. You know, it's just as much fun the second time to be validated. You know that you were right. So yeah, thrilled that I nailed that one on the head. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of my guesses have been off the mark. So kudos to
Yeah.
the show writers. I got that right, but I think that was a layup. That was an easy one. I think I'm not shooting a good percentage from 3 to use a basketball analogy.
um, yeah, so it sounds like when Allison is describing everything that they're not covert assassins because they don't know what's going on. It seems like Allison and Kasima are kind of out of the know too. They're kind of like in Sarah's position where they're trying to figure this whole thing out.
Right. It seems like the North American people are playing sort of catch up to the European clones. It seems like this is a theory of mine, but I have a feeling based on the European clones seeming to have more information, and they're the ones who are being hunted, and she came overseas to escape whoever was doing the hunting over there. It seems like the North American crew may be a little bit late to the party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like the North American crew is pretty resourceful, so they almost have. It seems like the European crew is kind of escaping all these huntings, and they're more knowledgeable on kind of the parties that are responsible for that. It seems like the North American crew is kind of essential in figuring out, where they came from, the whole biology. I think whatever's going on with the sickness that everyone is catching. So it's interesting how there's two sides of the coins. One side of the Europeans are bringing a wealth of knowledge, and then the other side is the North Americans and all their kind of skills and things like that. Because it is interesting that they described it later in the episode, but Kasim is really the scientist.
Yeah, evolutionary biologist too, which is like directly related to the cloning. Do you think she became an evolutionary biologist because she'd already discovered that she was a clone, or she just happened to be an evolutionary biologist and then find out she was a clone?
It sounds like she was an evolutionary biologist, first of all, because I think Katya reached out to Beth. They went into this, and then Beth did like the scanner of the face.
The face search?
Yeah, she did the face search to try to figure out who else lived in North America with her same facial recognition. And right. I think this all happened pretty recently, so I think Kasima was already kind of doing her schooling or her PhD before all of this happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's a very lucky coincidence then. Also a lucky coincidence that one's a cop and that one's loaded. Well, I guess maybe not lucky. They're all, I guess, if they're all like the main character, they're all smart and resourceful. So one would think they would have been successful at whatever they applied themselves to,
Yeah, they all seem smart in their own way. It's kind of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like they all have their special the little quirk. Like Raphael is the sarcastic one with the anger problem. Donatello is the Gazmo guy. Leonardo is the leader, and then Michelangelo is like the goofster.
The jokester. Are we dating ourselves with that reference? What do you think the average age of our listeners is going to be, or is?
Well, the new movie's coming out pretty soon, so.
Oh yeah, the reboot.
Yeah.
Okay. So now they'll know what we're talking about once that drops.
Yeah, exactly. But I like these when they build characters that they have their own little power. It's like Charlie's Angels or something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So next we got Felix, and he's in the car, and then he gets hassled by Neighborhood Watch, which was a funny scene, because the woman's walking her like greyhound dog, and just walks up to him, and she's like, "I got my eyes on you." And he's like, okay.
We all know people like that. Like we all know someone who's just like that super overbearing kind of bitchy woman or girl or dude.
The person who takes the Neighborhood Watch just way too seriously.
Yeah.
And like, tear gas.
they can't let anything go without, they have to say something. They can't just see something and then let it roll off their shoulders. Like, they have to say something. We all know people like that. So right away, I felt what Felix felt. And when he dropped that, "That's the bitch that guards hell" line, I burst out laughing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Very, very funny, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Felix feels like he's been waiting in the car too long. People are starting to hassle him, so he pulls around back and starts looking through the windows. And it seems like Allison is a bit of a crazy person, or she's a little high strung with this whole people killing us situation. And then she
Yeah.
pulls out a gun and then
She's
pretty much
packing.
meets him in the backyard. What are you thinking at this point?
She's packing heat. Like, and show is set in Canada, so as you and I know, it is not easy to get a gun, let alone a handgun. You need
Well,
like a
we both have tried very hard to get a lot of guns in our life.
and then I'm failed every time. But no, I just know because a friend of ours went through worked for an armored car company. To get a license to carry a handgun, you need it's like 6, 8 months of licensing and go through a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not in the States where you can just walk into a place and as long as you have a clean record, they'll give you a gun. It's not like that here.
Yeah,
For our American listeners.
they do like psychological testing and things like that, right? Is that
Yeah,
what Steve had to go through?
well, not just that, but like it's a 6 month course, I think, for your first level. You have to write a series of exams, and then there's another 6 month course for the handgun portion. That's just for rifles and hunting, and then there's another long course for the handguns. I think it takes a year to get it. If you want to get a gun, you have to commit to a year. If you want to get a legal gun, that is. You want to just, I'm sure you could buy some on the black market or some seedy alleyway somewhere, but I doubt the
Yeah,
soccer mom was in the seedy alleyway buying a gun.
yeah. Well, you never know. All these clones are pretty resourceful, so she might go
Yeah,
to. Plus, she knew Beth. Maybe Beth got her the gun. Who knows?
it's true. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because Beth was a cop, so
Yeah, she probably has. You find out later that she has sources of like information that you don't go through the department. So maybe Beth has access to a whole bunch of different stuff through her cop knowledge.
Beth is a super interesting character. I can't wait to find out why she killed herself. Like, that's a super cool cliffhanger that's always hanging over our heads here
Hmm.
as we go. I can't wait to find out where that's going, and I'm
Hmm.
sure that they'll unearth the reason behind that eventually. But very
Yeah,
interested in that story.
yeah. That eventually ties itself up, but that's probably a few episodes away still.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah. So Allison's got the gun on Felix, and he's like, "Don't shoot!" And then luckily Sarah steps in right away and just clocks her. Just really lays one
Yeah,
solid punch on
unloads,
Allison, and
unloads on her.
yeah, she's gonna cry herself to sleep tonight. That was pretty. That was another kind of moment where you realize how intense Sarah is, or how much of a badass she is.
Yeah, we had our first glimpse at housewife suburban Barbie versus hard knocks coke dealer dating uh, ghetto Barbie. That
Yeah,
little first little dust up.
yeah. I think it was obvious who won that matchup.
Yeah, no kidding.
One was even holding a gun, and she
A
lost that
gun.
fight.
She literally had a gun in her hand.
Yeah. So after that, Kasima gets in Sarah's face, and she's like, "You're not supposed to tell anyone about Clone Club." And then she just came there like she had no idea what she was getting into and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, so at the end of that, Kasima said, "You know what? You want more answers? I want the briefcase. It's a matter of life or death." What were you thinking at that point? That's just probably something tying into everyone getting sick, right?
Uh, or everyone getting hunted, one or the other, because she did allude later on that allude to the fact that the answers were in the briefcase. Because she was like, "Who's hunting us? Do you know who shot her in the head?" The answers are in the briefcase. So I'm thinking that either the sickness or something to do with the people who are hunting them is tied in with what's in the briefcase. So that was my initial guess.
Yeah, I think the briefcase had they had like the blood samples. So either she's
And the
testing it to figure
X-rays.
out, yeah, she's testing it to figure out what their biology is, or maybe there's some sort of clue to figure out who created them, um, or something like that.
Now, is evolutionary biology, is that some foreshadowing? Is there potential that these girls are like further evolved than us, or they have some sort of superpower, or is there something like
Could,
is that
could
a
be actually.
teasing?
It doesn't happen. You get glimpses of things within the next two seasons, but it hasn't been definitive yet if there is any evolution or things like that. But
Okay,
towards the end of this season, there is like something, but it's not like obvious. It's not like they can fly or anything stupid like that.
you're just like really, really good in bed.
Yeah, exactly. They can just convince men to do anything, and they're idiotic.
Whatever they want, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much Paul that hasn't got it. He doesn't have his wits about him whenever he's around them. And
No,
Stephen the banker, we all know what happened to him.
yeah. And Raj, the IT guy.
Oh, Raj got worked over this
Yeah,
episode.
Raj got worked over hard.
Yeah, Sarah played him like a fiddle this entire episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like, "Can I do my real job at one point?"
No.
And she's like, no,
Yes.
just put ABV out."
Yeah. Right now.
Yeah, come on, Raj, help me out.
Yeah.
So next, the next scene. So we're back at Felix and Sarah's place, and Felix is kind of let in on the whole situation, and then he's talking to Sarah about it. He's like, you know what? There's 8 clones. There's a handful dead. Kasim is going on about how it's a life or death situation. You can't ignore this. And then Sarah's on the bandwagon. No, we're sticking to the plan. I'm gonna grab the 75K. We're piecing out on this. What would you think if you were in Sarah's position? I would be kind of worried about my health. She's convinced.
I think
She's like Steve Jobs when he was like got cancer, and he just wanted to drink juice to fix it.
yeah. Maybe you should go to the doctor, Steve. I don't know. Like, you got a lot of cash. You probably get a really good doctor. No. I was a little. If I were her, I would have been a little concerned that Art wasn't taking the 75K and playing online poker with it or something at night, because he kept every time she wanted it back, he kept finding an excuse not to give it to her. So.
You think online poker is
Yeah,
in
maybe
Art's character? He's up
maybe
at
he's
6 o'clock in the morning in the office. There's no way he's playing online
oh
poker till
yeah,
like
it's
all
6
hours of
o'clock
the
in the
night.
morning. Everyone was in the office. It was full. Answered the phone. Hello, good morning, Art here. Like 6 in the morning. Not tired at all. No,
Yeah,
what if he's a night owl? Maybe he's out partying all night doing drugs and stuff, and then he's just still awake at 6 o'clock in the morning.
yeah. He's just cocaine is carrying him throughout his day.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
just burning through that 75K in cocaine
and online poker.
and online poker. Yeah,
So maybe that's why he's being so shifty about the money. Because
yeah,
she got reinstated and he's still not giving it back, right?
yeah. That kind of came out of nowhere. Like, she just popped in to sort of say hello. She's just saying hello. He's like, no, you're not. You're reinstated.
Yeah, it was really it wasn't too long of a process to after. What is this? What do you think the timeline was? It was probably like a couple days at most.
But I don't understand. I mean, I don't know anything about being a cop, but like, she shot somebody who was holding a cell phone, had no real reason to do it, it seemed. And not even who had a cell phone, because they planted the cell phone in her hand, didn't they? Art did that after when he showed up at the scene.
Yeah, but they
And
don't know that.
yeah, right. But either way, like, you just so quickly return someone to duty. I guess she blackmailed the psychiatrist, so that's the psychiatrist probably saying like, yeah, she's absolutely fine. So forgot about that.
I would be concerned from like a media standpoint or a PR standpoint, like reinstating a cop so quickly that just killed like an innocent person.
It just killed someone. Yeah, you think the papers have a field day with that?
Yeah, I guess the Toronto Star was probably on its day off when all this happened.
Too busy writing about the
pretty
Argos game.
Yeah, sure. Because pretty much like in Toronto, like there's just like 3 deaths a year. Like it's very small, so if anything happens, it gets a huge write-up. You think if a cop killed someone who was unarmed, that would be all over the news. But
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh well, it wasn't.
It's not.
We're just gonna go with this.
Yeah, like in Detroit or Chicago, where I'm going in a couple of weeks, actually, they had like 40 shootings last weekend. I was reading that in the news.
Last
40
weekend.
Yeah, like there was an insane amount of shootings last weekend. I'm going there in 2 weeks for Lollapalooza, so like it's things are apparently they've had like a wave of violence this summer. But here in Canada and Ottawa and Toronto, for sure, like 40 shootings would cover. That's like 4 years worth of shootings for us. You know what I mean?
Way more than
So
4 years. Yeah.
yeah. But,
Oh, that's crazy. Um, okay, so where are we now? So pretty much Sarah's going through with the plan, and so now she's pretending to be Beth again, and you see a moment where she's looking in the mirror and she's like, ugh, what am I doing?
yeah.
It's just it. She's just so exhausted of like putting up with this. She's like, oh, it's like 2 weeks of this.
And she looks at Beth's picture. It's like, why is Beth's picture just a picture of Beth in that mirror?
Just
Isn't
to
that a
fix,
weird?
just to fix her hair, like her. I don't know. They don't
Oh,
look
is that
so.
why? Oh, I thought Beth had that there from like. I thought that would be like me going into the bathroom in the morning and you're about to take a shower. I'm like, and there's a picture of just me like smiling and I look at myself and I go
Just
like,
pointing back to you, like looking good.
Another day in paradise. Off in the shower.
No, I feel like Sarah put that there so that she
Okay,
could fix her, how she looked to look like that.
yeah.
That makes more sense to me.
Okay, good detective work. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Now I feel like
Okay.
kind of an idiot.
I think you're thinking like you rather than thinking like Sarah.
Yeah,
Like
I'm thinking, what would I do
what would you do with a picture of yourself?
if I was trying to if I found a clone who looked like me and I was trying to impersonate them? I would immediately be like, "Oh, this guy's hair is crap. His style's shit," and I would just lose track of the impersonation altogether, and then try and revamp his whole look, and then get busted for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, we're back at the police station, and Sarah's pretending to be Beth again, and she's haggling Art for the money, and she comes up with a story. Me and Paul are splitting up. I gotta put the 75K back, or else things are gonna get pretty messy for me. And Art's really not budging. I'm not sure what his problem is here.
I'm
You think?
telling you,
You think he would, if she came with a convincing story that her, personal life was in shambles, that he would probably give the money back, don't you think?
yeah, I absolutely think, and that's where my joke / theory came from about him gambling the money away on online poker, all night coke benders, because he was being so dodgy about the cash. Like, she was back, she was reinstated, she didn't have her bullets in her gun, which was kind of stupid. Like, just anyone who's played a video game knows you just slide the clip into the bottom of the gun and then stick that in your holster. And then always in the holster, there's another little slot for your backup clips. There's a few of them usually, right? So that was pretty
I had
stupid.
no idea that. I've never played a video game or shot a gun.
Well, just from watching movies, playing video games, like having toy guns. Like, I even had toy guns as a kid where you slid like a little clip into them of something. Little
I probably would have gone to
BBs or whatever.
Yeah, I probably would have gone to the bathroom, put the clip in the gun, and would have like shot a round off into the bathroom.
What's going on there? Nothing. You're fine.
I'm okay.
Okay. Off to the crime scene.
Give me a minute. Okay.
Someone comes out of one of the stalls and just like looks around. What's going on here?
Yeah, but so yeah, that was actually a pretty funny moment where so she goes into the office and he reinstates her like no questions asked, and then gives her gun back, and then she has a funny moment trying to figure out how to put the holster on, and there is a funny moment from the other lady cop who's like, "Do you need help with that?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure," and she's like, and then walks away.
You dumb idiot.
That was pretty funny.
I can't imagine the holster is too difficult to put on. Although I say that, and I was dog sitting my parents' dog, and they have it's a little tiny dog. You can't put a leash on because its throat's too small and dumb to handle a leash. You got to put it in a little harness. And I was going to take it for a walk, and I could not figure out how to get that little stupid harness on it. So maybe I empathize with her a little bit about how difficult it is to figure out.
I would imagine it like suspenders. Like if you can figure out suspenders, you can figure out a gun holster, I think.
You just clip those in the front and on the back. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah. We all know that game. And then she puts the clips in her back pocket, and then the next scene you see her in Art's car, and she calls in a 10:45, which was another funny moment because she has no idea how to do it. And she calls it in, and they're like, "What's your car number?" And she's like, uh,
55. Yeah.
and Art's like 55.
You know what I would have done? I would have faked. I would have picked up my when as soon as I heard that squawk box start going, asking the car to do something. I would have done something on my phone and then pretended like I had my phone in my ear right away. And then because Art would have just looked over and seen you on your phone, and he would have just picked up the microphone and done it, right? Because he sees you on your phone, he's not going to say, "Hey, call it in." That's what I would have done. As soon as I heard them saying, I thought of that while I was watching. I was like, I know I could say, maybe I didn't think of that, maybe I did, who knows? But I did, I swear. I
Yeah,
would have just scooped up my cell phone, and as soon as I heard them saying, like, blah, 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 10, whatever, they started talking to them in the car, I would have just gone and put my phone right, as if I was dialing a number, and I had just sent it. I was like letting it ring. And then
yeah,
Art picked up, he would have gone, yeah, car 55, 1045, we're responding, whatever. And then he would have hung it up, and I'd have been like, no answer. You know what I mean? I would have just played it off like I was using my phone. Because I thought, there's no way she gets that. He must be like, what? It doesn't matter how effed up you were on pills or if you shot someone by accident, it doesn't matter. You're not going to forget your car number, and you're not going to sound like an idiot when you pick up the walkie-talkie thing. She was like, 1045, responding to the 55. It's just, that's, you know how the cops speak. They have a certain way that they do it, right?
yeah,
No, she's a cop for like many, many years. That would be like someone who works at a restaurant forgetting to say like, "Hi, what can I get you to drink?" They're going like, "Hi, drinks, you or what?" Like, what are you working for? Like, you're just saying something stupid. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
That's a lot of 2 cents. That was like 4 cents.
Yeah, okay. You're rich.
Yeah, take that to the bank. Yeah, like I don't know what I would do. I would probably because it just hits you out of nowhere. You're a bit dumbfounded because then you would have been like, call it in, and then you're like, oh, I got to make this call, and then you pull it. It would have been like very obvious.
Yeah. So
I would have been like, I think I would have done exactly what she did and just played off cool, like what? That's how she handled it. And like, what can he do? He's like, what is? It's just weird. It's like having a brain fart moment.
yeah,
Sorry, what did you say?
he's giving her a lot of slack though. Like she's doing a lot of weird stuff, and he's letting a lot of it slide.
Yeah. I get the feeling it's gonna catch up with her eventually.
Yeah, me too.
And that's what she says actually in the episode. She's like, I can't pull this off for too long. And they're like, no, you should stay in there.
They're very confident.
Yeah, they're confident in Sarah's ability to con. So next, we're at the quarry with Art, and they get called in for a 10:45 is like a murder scene or something like that. And basically, she gets called in for her bad body hiding job. And it's funny because Art's like, what do you think happened? And then she's like, I think someone buried the body and they had no idea it was a quarry. It was like pretty funny because you just see the acknowledgement on her face, like, oh yeah, I messed this up.
Yeah, they're like, wow, great detective work.
Yeah.
So it leads us to the fingerprints matching, which is a cool thing. I didn't see that coming right away. So obviously they're cloned, so they're going to have identical fingerprints. And our girl Sarah is a felon, so as soon as they take this girl's severed arm and put it on a fingerprint pad, it's going to turn up as her.
Yeah. So like this was the weird thing because Sarah has a criminal record, and that was a funny scene too, where she calls Casima and she's like, I'm, if the prints match, Beth's gonna come up, except it's yours truly, except I'm already supposed to be dead. And then Casima's like, welcome to the trip.
Yeah.
Such a funny line.
Deal with this crazy shit all the time, eh? Like, she's so used to it.
Yeah, it's such a convoluted situation. Which is kind of weird too, because the story that Casima later tells her is that Beth looked for the facial recognition of like people in North America and found Casima and Allison. But wouldn't you think that that would show up Sarah first for people that would show up for her facial recognition if she's already a convict?
she's a felon, right? So there would have been a mug shot. So we bet the facial recognition, sure, she would have found Sarah. That's what I thought too.
I
But
thought she would have been the first one to be found for some reason.
maybe because Sarah got her felonies when she was in. Didn't Sarah come over from overseas? Didn't their foster
Yeah,
mom break
but
from overseas?
yeah, but when she goes to delete the fingerprints, you can see she's in the system. Like after the fingerprints, like her face showed up, and I think she came over here like early, like around 8 or 10. So I think she was a felon in her teens.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so a bit of a plot hole there, but that's what we're here for, to point those out.
we're here to break this show down and then build it back up
Yeah.
again. 'Cause we love this
Yeah.
show. We do it out of love. We're like that naggy mother.
Right. We're so interested that we're pointing out the good stuff and some of the bad stuff.
It's all good to me. It's just fun to poke fun at the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it's an all messed up situation with this dead body and her in the system and the prince and this is all gonna come down in an avalanche at one point, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see Sarah talk her way out of that. You know?
Yeah, it should be good. And then they come back to the station, and then Art sees that she's not loaded, and then she's still trying to get the 75K, and he's like, "Show me your gun." And she's like, "What?" And then she has another funny moment where she can't actually get the gun out of the holster.
Bumbles it out.
She kind of bumbles it out, and then
Backwards.
she's like jumbling it while she's like giving it to him, and then he's like, "You're not loaded," and then he gets pretty upset about that, and basically tells her to sit at a desk while he works the case over with DeAngelis. So another setback in Sarah's plans, which is too bad.
Too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But what is she? I mean, what did she expect? It didn't seem like it was a big deal. Obviously, they're cutting her a lot of slack. She just came back from like a pretty traumatic experience. So,
Yeah.
Everyone seemed to be very nice about it too. Like, I feel like there wasn't like a caddy, like, I'm taking over DeAngelis just strolled over and was like, Joe, if you don't mind taking your seat on this. She's like, yeah, he's all yours. Like, all things considered, Sarah handled that pretty well, I think.
Yeah, she probably should be on a desk job anyway.
Yeah,
it's strange that they put her out in the field.
The less time she's around Art, in my opinion, the better. Because Art's, he's kind of stupid up until now, but he's a detective, and he's letting all of these clues that Sarah isn't who she says Beth isn't who she says she is, slip right by him. So I think the more time she's around Art and the more dumb shit she does in front of Art, the more likely Art's going to be to catch on to her. So.
Yeah, because Art's kind of being like a babysitter right now. It's kind of catch-22 because she needs to work him over for the 75K, but she's still, trying to figure out this whole killing the clone situation thing. Plus, she doesn't want to get caught, so like she has to really walk that tightrope as she's kind of navigating all these messy things.
A lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, she's juggling a tennis ball set, except she's got like the full cage.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, we actually get like a sky pan of downtown Toronto, and you get to see the financial district, which I quite enjoyed.
There you go.
Yeah, and then next we're at a bar with Cosima, and then we learn that Cosima does Evo Devo science PhD, and they start talking about the German, why they're sick, and then Cosima fills her in on the whole thing that they were learning that the European identicals were being hunted, and then Katja contacted Beth, who contacted Cosima and Allison, and then that was the whole plot hole with the facial recognition stuff. But the main kind of thing we learned at this point is that Sarah has to stay a cop to find out more about who's killing them, which is a legit concern, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell she's already wavering on her. Even Felix is telling her, "Hang on, like you're gonna just bolt with the cash." Like, and Felix, as the voice of reason, is, like we know he was all for the bolt with the cash plan initially, but even he is like, "Hang on, take a second, try to get to the bottom of this because I have a feeling, and I'm sure this is the truth, is that you can't really run and hide from whoever these people are. They came all the way across from Europe to hunt them down in North America, in Toronto of all places. So not a lot of places you can go to get away from them, I would think.
Yeah, it sounds like Sarah's pretty much. It feels like she's always been on the run, especially because you have that whole thing with Mrs. S, and I think she spent her youth on the run, and that's kind of just her go-to. Anytime things are pretty heated anyway, that's her escape. Which
She goes like LeBron.
yeah, exactly. I didn't really buy his whole thing. Like, I want to go home. I think
No.
he realized he can't win with Miami, and
Yeah.
he's just trying to maintain his image while going to a good team.
Yeah, when things got tough, he bolted from Cleveland to a great Miami team. When things got tough in Miami, he bolted back to what turned out to be a better Cleveland team. It's just it's in Cleveland, so and it was a great PR move. He made the story about how he was going home versus how he was leaving Miami high and dry and going to the better team. So, anyways, good for him.
Yeah, just a little bit of basketball, podcasting in the middle of this whole thing.
Sprinkle it in there.
Sprinkle it, just in case everyone got bored of what we were talking about. Yeah. So next we're at the police station with Art, and Sarah's feeling out things with Art's print. And then Art says, we're going to the gun range. And then this is the next kind of interesting thing that happened in the show. A caller calls who has kind of a European accent. And the caller is talking about Katya, the girl that was killed. And she says, just she was one of a few just unfit for family. And she expired at Allen St. Park.
Yeah.
What were you thinking initially?
I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear everything that was said. Like, it was in that voice changer, and it had that accent, so I couldn't really hear what they said. But is it the girl who was on the motorcycle?
Yes, it turns out to be her. I think.
Okay,
You heard her talk, and she sounded kind of like that.
Yeah, when she talks, that's okay. So, but at the time when I first heard it, I had no idea. But once you heard the girl on the motorcycle talk a little bit before she got stabbed, I was like, oh, okay, it sounds similar. It's probably her. So.
Mm-hmm. And so pretty much Art goes to follow up on Allen's St. Park, and then he's like, okay, you just do your paperwork here. And then like Sarah looks around, she does no idea what she's doing, and she's locked out of her computer. And this is where Raj comes into the scene, one of many men that Sarah cons using her charm and her good looks.
Yeah, she's Raj is absolutely in love with her. Fact.
Yeah, join the club. Get in line, Raj. Get in. We gotta take her on a lunch date before you get all googie-eyed over her.
Yeah, one thing at a time here, Raj.
Yeah. And then she convinces him to change her password and teach her how to do fingerprint analysis. Seems a little over Raj's pay grade. What do you think? Is he like an IT guy?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know how he has the or like, shouldn't he have some questions as to why she doesn't know how to do absolutely anything, like the basic stuff?
Well, she says like, want some gum? I have a post-traumatic stress disorder. It was like literally that to that.
Nice light water cooler talk at the office.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty it's a pretty crafty move though, getting in there and deleting the results and stuff. That was pretty sweet.
That was smooth. So yeah, she figures out how to do it, and then another guy who gets conned by Sarah chalk him up. Poor the forensics guy had to log in all his fingerprints, and then she messes that up. So that'll buy her some time with the dead body, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then next, we're at Allison's place, or we're at Allison St. Park, and Art is with DeAngelis, and they're figuring out the whole sniper situation. So they figure out that motorcycle left the area, and they get a good tire track, and then also they find the red-haired doll head, which looks similar to, remember in episode 2 in Katya's ransacked room?
In the hotel room.
There's a doll with its head missing, so now you see the other side of that doll. It's the killer's calling card, I think.
Right. And we had the Bible there with the Bible verses circled and stuff too.
Yeah. This
So maybe now this is just me going off on a little bit of a tangent, but maybe the killer is a little bit like turbo religious, and cloning is sort of an aberration to what God is the creator, not you shouldn't be creating people and blah blah blah. So maybe do we have a turbo religious clone eradicator on our hands? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so there's two theories of thought. So either, and there were like Bibles later in this episode, and
Yeah.
in the Catch's ransacked room, and they both had stuff kind of relating to creationism, kind of highlighted in her neat writing, and the other school of thought is that Allison's theory that people are covering up their illegal experiment, or it could be both, or it could be neither. Who knows?
Who
But
knows?
I would think if for anyone who watched The Sixth Day, uber religious people don't like clones.
No, that's been ingrained in our psyche from Hollywood. So
Which makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. So next we go to bird watching with Mrs. S. Sarah and Mrs. S are kind of like hanging out.
Yeah.
And then Mrs. S is talking to her and compares her to a Baron's golden eye. And she's like, just passing. I can't do an Irish accent. Just passing through.
Hey, laddie.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's a little, she's undercutting Sarah a bit, thinking that she can't, maintain a regular life and be good for her daughter. And then Sarah's like, you're not her legal guardian. And then she's like, I'll give her to social services. And then she's like, you wouldn't do that. And she's like, yeah, I would. So Mrs. S is pulling out all the stops.
She's not playing around, that's for sure.
Yeah, she doesn't have any confidence in Sarah as a mother. Not yet.
So why isn't Mrs. S the daughter's legal guardian?
I think it's just Sarah and Sarah pieced, so she just took her over, but technically Sarah's still the legal guardian.
Okay.
But
okay.
Mrs. S would talk to child services if she needed to.
Right. And say how bad Sarah is, and then child services would take the daughter away from both of them. Okay.
Which is the solution no one wants, but Mrs. S is prepared to do that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So next, we're at Beth and Allison's. They're talking on the phone, and basically, Allison is being recruited to teach, or not Beth, Sarah. Allison is being recruited to teach Sarah how to shoot because her and Art are going to the gun range the next day, and Allison can't really find a sitter, and then it turns out Felix is going to be babysitting for the afternoon, which is another funny incident. So he's immediately he gets there, he's like, okay, where's the booze?
Yeah.
And then do you want to get dressed up like a little girl? He's a little kid.
Cross dresses the two kids.
Yeah. Felix is pretty funny. He's
yeah.
He only gets entertained by like weird stuff.
I knew that would be a recipe for disaster. Well, he clearly hates the soccer mom, right? Because she pointed a gun at him, and she's a nutcase. So like he passively aggressively, in a hilarious way, found a way to get back at her by dressing up her kids in the we're cross dressing. They're so excited.
Yeah, she seems a bit right wing too.
Yeah, she for sure does not appreciate fringe society. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So pretty much they're at the shooting the gun, and then actually what's going on? Allison is talking to Sarah about Glocks, and Walter P99 starts giving her the lingo to use. And then Allison's still convinced that people are covering their illegal experiments. So it's obvious at this point that they're not informed about what's actually going on.
Yeah,
and you kind of learn about a little insight into the relationship between Allison and Beth. And sounds like they were close, but not too close. Allison liked that she didn't pry into her stuff. And then she gets really upset about the C word, and it's not the C word that you and I would get in trouble for using.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, we can't say that on air because I swear we draw the line
yeah.
here on the Orphan
BBC
podcast.
America would take their post down again,
Yeah, again.
and then we had 0 posts and only reposts. Yeah, and by the end, it seems that Sarah's getting the hand of it. You think this is realistic, learning how to shoot in just a day? I think so, probably.
I mean, I picked up a gun a few times in my life,
Yeah.
mostly on farms, and yeah, I've been in Vegas. We went and shot machine guns and handguns and stuff. One of those bachelor party trips,
Oh, wow.
and honestly, it's you pick it up pretty quick. Like you just as long as you get the hang of the recoil and the noise, and like you get used to how much it kicks back in your hand, you just kind of like you're an athletic guy. It's the same as you pick up a basketball. The first few times you shot it, you hit the rim, right? Like you weren't throwing up air balls your first. Like once you gave an eye for like the target, and you just kind of figure out how to get the bullet there. Yeah, maybe like 30, 40, 50 shots in, I was like consistently hitting in like the middle range of the target.
Okay.
Yeah, man. The
All
machine
right.
gun's a little different. It like kind of rattles back and sprays a little bit, so like it's a little bit harder. But the handguns, the smaller ones, are pretty easy to control. I shot a shotgun at Leslie McLeod's cottage, like a big pump action 10 gauge shotgun, and that just blasts pellets out. So you can kind of doesn't really matter how accurate you are with that thing, no matter where you can miss by 10 inches, you're still gonna knock the 7-Up bottle off the ledge, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's you would pick it up very quickly.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we're back at Allison's home, and then Allison kind of entrusts Sarah with the whole situation of what's going on, and then we realize that's the 75K is actually Allison's. So now,
Allison's a baller.
so I don't know how Allison makes all this money because it seems to me like she's a stay-at-home mom. Is that your impression of the whole thing?
Well, she clearly. I mean, I assumed maybe this is gonna sound really brutal, but I just assumed, yeah, she was kind of a stay-at-home mom who had like a super rich husband
Do you think he
who.
would notice $75,000 like just disappearing though? No.
Well, he was rich enough. I feel like she could make up a story saying, I want to give this to a charity, or I want to start some little business or something, and like make up an excuse for what she needs it for. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they're rich enough, I think that's a realistic possibility.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that.
All
Um,
right.
and yeah, so pretty much now so Sarah goes back to Beth's place with Felix, and then you know that the plan is really still to con Allison, and then Paul gets home, and it gets pretty steamy. So they hide Felix in the closet, and Sarah's like, "I thought you were still at Cody's," and he's like, "I don't even like Cody anymore." And then
That gay relationship is over.
yeah, and then she's like, "I got reinstated," and then they talk about the schizophrenic hot and cold stuff, and then Sarah's like, "Well, maybe you should." And then
Big Dick
Paul just
Paul.
starts, Big Dick Paul just starts making out with her aggressively, and then turns her around and starts like putting his hands down her pants, and
Yeah.
Felix is listening it and enjoying the whole time, which I found kind of weird.
Yeah, Felix was loving it. He thought he was gonna be in the cot. He thought he was gonna be in the bedroom for a whole sex scene there. But then
Yeah.
Paul, Big Dick Paul, in like a real impressive move, just says, "I'm out" in the middle of it.
Well,
And
he was trying to do to her what she did to him,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
like just get her all hot and steamy and then walk away and be like, "Oh, whoa, sorry."
Yeah,
That's
classic Big Dick Paul.
yeah, that's such a Paul move.
He's really turned the tables on her. I'm impressed.
Yeah. No guy has ever pulled this off before.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if once I got started, I could stop like that. Like that's why I was impressed.
Yeah, the try to teach your girlfriend a lesson by withholding sexually from her. I don't think anyone's ever accomplished that for our gender.
Right, of course.
Yeah. What do you think's worse? The mortician asking out Felix after he just identified his dead sister, or Felix listening to his sister hook up with another guy? Which one's weirder?
Yeah, the mortician thing, because Felix isn't technically her sister, and he's interested in more out of like a funny curiosity than like a creepy sexual flirtation next to a dead guy. I think the mortician one takes the cake there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It is weird to like the mortician is like it's weird like after her sister just died and be like so what are you doing later?
Yeah, like flirting with them, like, right.
Yeah. So yeah, next we're at the gun range, and Sarah says, "You like your big Glock, don't you? You think that's a sexual innuendo for for
Hundred percent, 100%, and we're getting a little hint at maybe a potential like a little flirtatious sexual relationship between the two of them, and maybe that's why Art's been so oblivious to all these like obvious signs that something's really off, you know?
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
he's what's it called when you're seeing cloudy because you kind of like someone? There's an expression.
Uh, yeah, I can't think of it
Uh,
either, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're
yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah. So he's not thinking clearly, and
Blinded by love, you know?
that's that's not what it is.
Blinded by lust.
Yeah, he's got lust vision.
Yeah, that's it. There it is.
I don't think that's good, but we'll go with it for now. And then Art figures out the body dump pretty quick. So he figures out that it seems like the hit doesn't match the body dump. I think the someone was with Katya and drove off and buried the body because she was scared. And that's pretty good. And then Sarah gets a call saying that they found the stolen Suzuki that she called in Parkdale. So next they head over to Parkdale, and then they start talking with the landlord. And what do you think of the landlord? She's like, my son, no here.
She
What
she's
was the point of including that person? Just a little comedy,
possibly the
right?
worst landlord in the world. Speaks no anyways, yeah, of no help to the police of it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. And then it seems just throwaway scene. So they start snooping around the apartment, and then you see all the other weird Bible stuff, and also another picture of a lookalike that Sarah hides in her pocket. Um, and then there was parts in the Bible about the mother's womb,
Hmm.
which kind of goes back to the creationism stuff.
Yeah, so that's where we're getting this little hint of we have like crazy religious killer on our hands.
Yeah, and I think it's known that this is the killer. So I think it's safe to say that she's more on the religious side of things. And then,
So
sorry?
why I just don't understand why she didn't kill Sarah.
Yeah, so let's fast forward to that. So Sarah catches a glimpse of the gun and then dives at Art, and Art gets kind of hit in the neck. He seems okay. I don't know why he's like, oh, go after her. And then he's just chilling there, and it really just
He's
grazed
just
him.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I've never been grazed by a bullet before, but I figured I thought he would hop up and be like shortly behind her. There was a long gap in between the two there when she was on the ground and the girl was over top of her, the crazy killer girl. That was like
Yeah.
before Art finally showed up. Like, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, so as she chases down the blonde girl, and then she gets smoked in the back with a pipe, and then the blonde kind of reveals herself, and you see that it's another clone.
mm-hmm.
Did
Huge
that
reveal.
blow your mind that
Did
the clone killer was herself a clone?
did not see that coming. So that's obviously filled my mind with a whole another slew of questions. So yeah, here we go again. Welcome to the trip. You know.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Soon.
Hello?
Yeah. Are you back?
There. We're back.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
back.
So
Sorry.
I think we cut off around where the blonde clone was there, and you were kind of going into your theory of how she's involved in the whole thing.
Right. So, well, I just filled my head with a whole bunch more questions. So I said, "Welcome to the trip." You know, like another when you think you're finally getting a handle on things, here comes another big twist. So the crazy religious killer is a clone herself. So I would think that, uh, she was going about her life and then discovered, much like Sarah did, probably accidentally, someone who looked exactly like her, and maybe lost her mind and decided she needed to wipe them all out or maybe she was the first one and she was the one they cloned and she's really furious about it. So she's going around trying to wipe out all the copies of her. I don't
Hmm.
know, but
Yeah.
certainly a very cool wrinkle.
Yeah, very interesting. So she's about to stab her, and she's like, "I'm not Beth." And then the blonde clone starts tickling her chin with the knife, which is probably not the most romantic move. And then Sarah takes a rail and spears her in the gut.
What,
That
bam,
was,
right into the side.
that was a pretty intense moment.
Gangster move, yeah. Real, real,
And,
real
and
intense
then
maneuver.
the blondie kind of regains her composure, and then she has the gun pointed at her, and then she decides to not shoot, and she's like, "Not yet, not Beth." So what do
Not
you think?
yet, not yet. Good,
Not
good accent.
Yeah, not Beth.
Good.
And then what do you think's going on with this clone? Is she got like kind of a list like the killer from Happy or Billy Madison
And she's
that
got the
she has to
one
go off in order?
in a row.
Yeah.
Man, am I glad I called that guy. I don't know. So that's my big puzzle as we move along here. Is if we think she's just a killer bent on eradicating all the clones because they're religious aberrations or they're copies of her or whatever the reason might be. Why didn't she just kill Sarah? She realized it's not Beth, and then that it was somebody else. So maybe Beth was next on her list, and now Beth's gone. So maybe Allison is next, and then Casima's after that, and then Sarah she doesn't even know about, or Sarah's further down the list. So potentially the list comes into play there, but I just don't see what the point of that would be. I feel like you just want to get rid of them all. If that's your goal. It just doesn't matter what order you do it in. Just pick them all off.
Yeah, she seems meticulous about stuff because she's got the Bible and she's got the
Yeah.
doll. Like she has a whole vision in her head. Maybe it's like my sister organizing Christmas. Like it has to be done a certain way.
Has to be done. Everything done in order perfectly. So obviously we're assuming that this clone was the person who was hiding in the bushes with the sniper rifle, who
Yeah,
sniped off the German. Okay,
yeah, I think that's
cool.
safe to assume
Makes
because
sense.
the stuff in Catch's ransacked room kind of matches the stuff in the apartment where the woman's like, "My son, no here."
Right,
Um,
right.
So yeah, after this whole thing, Sarah still has the composure to grab the knife that the blonde left, which I think will be probably a clue down the line.
Yeah,
And then Art gets really touched by Sarah's actions and actually gives her back the money, which
right.
was been one storyline that we've been trying to wrap up is getting the 75K.
Man,
So were you happy that was finally over with?
I'm so glad that's over. I couldn't take that back and forth anymore. Why did Sarah hide the knife? What was the point of that?
I think she's
What,
trying to figure out this
on her
whole.
own?
Yeah, like she doesn't want Art. I don't know. She's like, I think
Right. Okay.
she's trying to figure it out while maintaining the secret that there's a whole bunch of duplicates because that's
Okay.
why she's grabbing, the thing out of the Bible, the other passports and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So she's doing a little side clone investigation of her own
Hmm.
while pretending to keep up the charade of doing the main investigation with Art. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. So next, after this whole thing is over, we're at Mrs. S's, and it seems apparent that Sarah and Felix are there to snatch up Sarah's daughter, Kira.
Hmm.
And she looks inside, and then she has a realization: I'm probably not the best mother if I steal my kid in the middle of the night. And this
Can't
seems
do
like
it.
the first, you know, fork in the road for Sarah's personal story, where she's like, I'm trying to become a better person. and
Mhm.
she decides I'm gonna help out, the other clones. I'm gonna do things right with my daughter. Yeah, she really just takes the high road. Are you happy about that, or you think she should have just grabbed the daughter and left?
Well, she's our main character, so it's nice to see. It's nice to see her evolving and doing the right thing, so to speak. Not that that's clear cut by any means, but yeah, no, I was happy to see this.
Yeah. And then that was a short scene, and then pretty much we're at the final scene of the show, and then we're at the bathroom, and then the blonde
Oh,
clone is taking
oh
the
god,
rail out of her skin,
oh,
which was so bloody and gross,
oh god, that
like
would have
pulling
been
out a tapeworm
so.
or something.
She didn't even scream. Like that would have been excruciatingly painful. And wouldn't you believe? So I used to, not so much anymore, but watch a lot of medical dramas. House, Grey's Anatomy. I was ER. I was a big fan. If you have an embedded object, you need to remove it like millimeter by millimeter, and the surgeons fix as they go. Because like that would have gone through organs, like spleen, kidney, whatever side it was on. I don't remember. And like as you remove it like so. If you ever get, since they're all the listeners, if you ever get stabbed with a rebar, that's a piece of rebar that went in your side there, or a knife or anything, don't pull it out. Leave it in, dress around the wound, go to the hospital with it still in, and once you get there, they'll x-ray around the inside of you, and then they'll remove it and repair as they go. So that's what I don't understand, is that would have caused a ton of internal bleeding, and she would have been something. She doesn't look like she's made any move to the hospital there. She's just yanked it out, didn't even scream, just went,
Oh,
man.
actually good. It's like popping a big zit. Have you been
Yeah,
stabbed with rebar before? You seem to know a lot about wound dressing
hey
and
man,
surviving
I'm a
stuff
rock
like
star,
this.
baby. No, I've
Oh
never
boy.
been stabbed with me, but just saying, from
Uh,
watching medical TV shows, I feel like I know everything now.
yeah, you sound like you think you know everything.
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly it.
and
I
then
think I know so much.
yeah, and then the final scene of the show is really you see her back, which is all like scratched up or torn up from something
Whipped.
going on.
I thought it
Yeah,
was
you
whipped.
think it's whipped?
I think it's whips.
So someone's whipping her, or she's whipping herself. What do you think it is?
Oh, I didn't think about that. So the first thing that popped into my head was that maybe she had been in some like crazy cult or like internment where she was a slave of sorts and got whipped if she was misbehaved or whatever.
Hmm.
But they looked fresh and recent, so you're right. Maybe it makes more sense that she was one of those people who I can't remember what TV show it was, but they would whip themselves as like a repentance or something. I can't remember. I wish I could remember what it was. It was really creepy. Oh, Angels and Demons. It was the from the Dan Brown. Remember, there's like crazy religious. Tie that in. He was the religious hitman, and he would go into his room and whip himself in the back
Why would he
before he
do
went to
that?
sleep. I
Just
don't
got.
know. It was like, yeah, honestly, I don't
Uh,
know. Also, the really religious guy. I don't know if you ever watched Boardwalk Empire. There was a guy in that really
yeah,
religious,
yeah, yeah. I
creepy
watch all that.
guy. Also whipped himself in the back, like before he went to sleep. Anyways.
Is it like 20 Hail Marys and 10 whips? Is that like your typical
Yeah, yeah,
bedtime
yeah, yeah,
routine?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's like I think it's like to pay for your sins. I think that's what it is. So you
Oh
do
boy.
something wrong, you whip yourself.
Okay. Well,
So
that's an intense way to go.
fucking weird. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're left with still a lot of questions. I think the main ones that are going on is how is Blondie involved with this? Who's controlling
Yeah.
her? Who's involved with her? Is she kind of a lone wolf, or is there someone backing her? And
Hmm.
then we still got the clones getting sick situation, and then of course the less interesting story of Sarah getting her daughter back. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be taking
Very.
a backseat to
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah. We don't. Let's move. Also, why did Beth kill herself? I'm dying to
Oh
find
yeah,
that
yeah.
out. So that's a big one for me, for sure.
Hmm.
And
So
who's whipping the blonde girl? Like we got to figure that out too. That's up there.
yeah, and who's not whipping Paul?
Exactly. Yeah. What's going on with Big Dick Paul? Are they gonna stay together? Will they or won't they? Yeah. That's
How
another good
is
storyline.
how is Cody going to fit into this love triangle?
Cody and Paul banging. We don't know.
Yeah, there's stay tuned to be continued. So,
Where's Vic?
oh yeah, Vic. I didn't even
Where's
remember him.
Vic? Another
He's
storyline from first.
he's still nursing that hangover from Sarah's fake
Yeah,
wake.
yeah, yeah. He's sleeping it off.
Yeah, but he owes some money to some people for that cocaine.
Hmm.
He's not in good shape here.
No, no, no. I hope he pops back up soon.
Yeah, you're a fan of Vic?
I like Vic. Yeah,
He's a
I
fun
like him.
character. He's a good comic relief for the show.
He's very entertaining.
Hmm. Okay, so that was episode 3. That was a great analysis. Thanks for doing this with me, Paul. Or Paul, Tom.
Big Dick Paul, that's
I
me.
know. I know. Your butt cheeks are exactly the same, so I get easily confused. But thanks for doing this with me. I
No,
will
my
be
pleasure.
putting this up on the website, orphanblackpodcast.com. You can find all our podcasts there. You can also follow myself and Tom on Twitter. Tom wants do your Twitter handle.
At Tommy Two Tables, TWO for the two. No numbers in there.
And I'm at eplaska. And then you can also find our podcast on facebook.com/orphanblackpodcast. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. We'll get everyone caught up on what's going on with post-show recaps. Maybe we'll have to get rid of the website. Who knows?
Who
But yeah,
knows?
fingers crossed. We're very excited, very hopeful. But we'll continue doing this either way.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for episode 4. Thanks again,
All right.
and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
All right, see you, Tom.
See you, buddy.